Okie dokie. Okay. Excellent. I see we're starting to get some streams coming on. Hopefully everyone's doing good. Let's see if the chat's working. Just some feedback in the chat that audio and visuals are good. Let me know. Okay. And there we go. Mr. Powers, Mr. Cole in the house. Excellent. Sweet. There we go. Here comes all the chats. Look at that. I love this little chat feature right there. Like, that is just too cool. I love that. That's so awesome. Cool. Everyone ready for some exciting, cool stuff today? Now, I'd say I hoped I was going to be able to ship the update before this live stream. But yeah, it didn't quite happen. So, sorry about that, but it'll happen right after the live stream, I promise. So, I have everything done. So all the code's done. It's all checked in. I don't know, but maybe it was good because it's inevitable. I release an update and then I like do a live stream about the update, and I always find something. I'm like, shoot. So yeah, hopefully we'll find some stuff today. So if you didn't know, Foundation 6.7 is going to come out today. And it has a lot of really cool features. It's got a lot of nice little fixes that people have been wanting for a long time. But more importantly, it enables some cool new stuff coming. And that is, I've been teasing it the past couple weeks, showing you little glimpses of it. Actually, maybe last week was the first week I showed it. That was the new Swatch pack coming. And so I have even more cool stuff that I can show off today from that Swatch pack. And I've decided to do something new today. With the launch of this Swatch pack, because I've had a lot of people come to me and say, Joe, I want those swatches like now. Right? You know, I have more ideas for this Swatch pack, and I'll definitely release it, I don't know, January, February-ish, somewhere around there. But the swatches that I have done are really amazing already, right? So I want to get these into your hands as soon as possible. So what I'm going to do is today on the Weaver Space community, I will be posting a pre-release purchase option. So if you would like to buy, I don't have a product page set up or anything like that, but if you would like to buy these swatches today, I will have just like a simple buy now link where you can go buy them, you can download them and use them. You can help me improve them, and if you have more ideas, I'm actively working on them. So now is the best time to give me feedback on stuff, is when I'm actively working on it. That's when I can do the most change, right? So, yeah, it's going to be really cool. The buy now link will be available today. You'll be able, I think there's 15 swatches right now available. And, yeah, they'll update, right? So as I ship new swatches or fixes and updates and all that, it'll just be like any other thing, right? So, you'll just be able to buy them early. So I want to be able to get these swatches into your hands now. And I'm sure you're tired of hearing me ramble on. So let's dive in and see some of the awesome new stuff coming. Okay. Go ahead and swap that. Sweet. The cost will be $49 for the new Swatch pack. So yes, the new Swatch pack will cost $49. To be honest, I might raise the price on the launch. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what the product looks like when it's done, but it won't be less than $49. So yeah, I'm debating on I have some really cool stuff coming in it, and I might raise the price to $59, but it will be $49 for the Swatch pack. Yes, Big Sur. I've been on Big Sur for a couple weeks. I really like it. Let's go ahead. I didn't have Rapid Weaver launch, so let's go ahead and launch some Rapid Weaver. Go to my sandbox. Okay. Hold on a second. Let me just quit this so I don't get all kinds of notifications popping in. Okay, cool. Actually, you know what? I'm going to use the fancy new Do Not Disturb here for 1 hour. There we go. Thank you. I like the new control center in Big Sur. Yeah, it's pretty cool. I like that a lot, actually. Yeah, I'm liking Big Sur. It's really cool stuff. All right, let me get up my release notes, or the things that I've done here, so I can kind of remember what the heck I've done. Okay, I guess we'll start with the big thing. Okay, and there was actually a post today on the community. Someone wanted to be able to like customize the gutters, and he was having some issues with that. And so what's kind of cool now is, and what I mean by that is, if you noticed inside any Foundation 6 column stack, okay, there's these buttons, right? Let me go ahead and hold on one second. I need to launch this little bad boy here. Okay. So these buttons right here. Okay. So these buttons right here. Oh, I see Bill Fleming is here. Bill Fleming's the one that had this request. Okay, so here inside, those should like time out. There we go. So these spacing buttons here, people are like, cool, I like that I can add some customized spacing, but like I want to customize it. Like, or I can add spacing, right? So you can turn these off. Oops, I gotta so we go here, we can turn these off, right? And that affects all the gutters, you know, whether or not it's top, bottom, left, right, all kinds of stuff, right? And so yeah, we have padding and margin. Essentially, basically what if you'd want, like if you only wanted half of the gutter, you could just turn off one of these, right? But if you want full, you turn on both. That's kind of how it is, you know, essentially. So, but these values were hard coded, right? There was no way to customize these. And so right now, I am happy to say that inside the new site style stack in Foundation 6.7, if you scroll all the way down to the bottom, we now have new settings for gutter sizes. Okay, so if you see right down here, boop. Okay, we have 3 different sizes. Now, what's kind of cool is actually the current version actually only had small and medium and large were actually always the same gutter. And actually it was these values before. So currently on your existing sites right now, the gutter is 20 pixels and then 32 pixels on medium and large. So I've added the ability to actually define 3 different values so you can have different gutter sizes on small, medium, and large. So that, you know, yeah, you can customize that. And what's kind of cool is, again, if you, those buttons, right? So let's say the gutter is 32. Let's just take that for as an example, okay? If I add a margin, that will add 10, and then if I add padding, it'll add another 10. So that's kind of how that works. And same thing with horizontal and vertical, right? So you can add, you know, spacing around, and it's basically half of whatever you have set there, okay? The reason it's half is if I do a margin, let's say I do margin, which is the space in between here, it'll add 32 pixels all the way across, but it adds 16 to each, right? So then if I doubled that, it would then add 32 to each, okay? So just to let you know how that works, okay? But yeah, kind of cool that we can now customize these values. And yeah, it doesn't matter, it makes it standardized across all columns as well. Standardized, I think, is very important because you want to make sure all your gutters and your content alignment is good, right? So we want to make sure that these particular spacing is a standard spacing across your entire site, which is why it's important that it's a global setting right here inside Site Styles. So that might look like a pretty simple thing. That was a lot of work. I'll be honest, I didn't even think it was going to be possible for me to allow you to customize those values, okay? But yeah, I finally figured out some wizardry and got that done for you. So that's actually a really, really cool setting. Okay. Okay, let's see. Okay, what's next on the list? I see you guys are having someone was having some resolution issues, but it looks like a refresh fixed it. Cool. Okay, what was next? So that was gutters. Okay, yep. Hold on one second. Did that. That's something else. Detailed. This one's kind of perplexed quite a bit of you. If inside of a margin swatch, okay, you'll notice that if you ever use the detailed, the left and the right labels were swapped, right? So these kind of label, this guy and this guy, the right and left. This was always set to be right, and this was always set to be left. But for some reason, I had accidentally swapped the labels, and it was top, left, bottom, right. Okay. Now, if you're curious on why things are in that order, okay, so if you notice, whenever I use detailed settings like that, same thing as for borders, margins, paddings, where I allow you to define a particular setting, and there's 4 numbers, and you can do top, left, top, right, bottom, left. If you're curious why that order is, okay, and now also, interesting tidbit is in the code for CSS, that is the order you needed to define things as well. Okay. Previously I used to try to like change it, and it was like, I used to do like top, bottom, left, right, or something like that, in the orders. But I thought it was important to kind of get you guys in the mindset of, I've kind of said I'm in the background teaching you guys CSS, right? So what I've done here is, this is the exact order in which, if you were to hand code this with CSS, that's the order in which you needed to define all of those things. And you might think that's confusing. Why top, right, bottom, left? It seems odd. Well, it's just going clockwise. So if you think of a box, like a square, you go top, right. I need to go opposite because of my video, right? So you go top, right, bottom, left, right? So yeah, it just goes clockwise around. Again, clockwise because video is mirrored, but yeah. So yeah, top, right, bottom, left is clockwise around a square, and that's the order in which those are defined. So if you're ever curious on why like that odd order is like that, that's why. Okay. So next up, detailed. Oh, interesting. Okay. This is another quite interesting feature. Actually, before I dive into this other feature, you will notice inside this site styles, okay? Man, it's really big. I'm not used to this screen resolution. I raised my screen resolution for the live streams, and it's just not used to it. Everything's so big. Okay. So previously, inside site styles, we had features, fonts. I think this was just called swatches. Okay. And I added a new group here. Okay. And I labeled this one general. Okay. So going forward, features is exactly the same. Didn't change. Everything's identical. Okay. I relabeled this group font and text. And what I did here is I moved all the font and text color swatches into this as well. So here we're going to, in this group, you can like have all your text styles and stuff like that. Okay. Now, if you really wanted to, you could still like let's say, you wanted to move something. Whoops. If you wanted to still organize it and have it down here, you can. There's nothing stopping you from moving a swatch from down here. But I thought it was nice to kind of compartmentalize. Up here is all your fonts and your text styles. Okay. To kind of, differentiate it. And then in this group down here, this is all your general styles, right? And if you see, you'll notice there's a lot of new stuff. We'll go over what's new in here. Okay. But this has things like padding, borders, cursor, displays, height, margin, padding, opacity. So kind of like general styles are going to be here, right? And I pulled out a few things from this, right? And these are going to be swatches that are specific to various components, right? For example, here we have component colors, right? These are colors of buttons. These are colors that affect, actual little foundation components on the page, okay? So that's why I kind of thought this would fit in here. And then there's a couple new swatches, which we'll go over later. And then the menu swatch and the top bar styles swatch are down here. The reason for that is because those are very specific swatches for specific things. Okay. They're not general style swatches like we have up here. Okay. So I thought I would move, things that were swatches for very specific things down here. Now, ultimately, I plan on making this list bigger. So there's going to be a lot more of these coming with the swatches pack. Okay. So we'll have more specific swatches for specific foundation components. Okay. So that'll be interesting. So that is what the kind of the new organization. Again, like if you had a pen up here that you wanted to have a component in there just so it was all grouped, you can move things between these groups. But I just thought this new logical order was a good way to go. Okay. Cool. Okay, so next up, another small little thing that's actually quite cool is inside the width swatch. Where's width? And oh, by the way, this, oh shoot, I need to move overlay down. This list is now in alphabetical order. For some reason, the original developer of this was having, I don't know, maybe he was drunk because, these things weren't even in alphabetical order completely. So, yeah, that'll get fixed. And actually, he was still drunk this morning because overlay is under background. Because it used to be called, it was overlay, and then I called it background overlay, but then that confused people. So now I call it overlay BG. Okay. There's actually some new features in the overlay swatch we'll go over later on today. Some freaking really cool stuff, actually. Okay, width. So, man, I'm getting sidetracked with all the cool new stuff we got coming on today. Okay, so width swatch. Okay, width swatch has some new units, actually. So if we go to I think it's in detailed. So if you go to detailed units now, okay, actually let's go to, I'm going to show you it with the max, okay? So let's do this. Let's do a simple width of, let's just keep it full width. And then we want to set up some maximum units, okay? And before, you couldn't actually set min and max units, okay? I think it was hard-coded to pixels, okay? But I've added new, so this is like a standard units drop down that I use across multiple things, okay? And what's kind of cool is there's a unit now for characters. Now, what is that? You might wonder. Okay. So let's do this. I'm going to set a minimum. I want a minimum of. Now we'll keep the minimum at 0, right? But what I want to do is I want to set a maximum. Okay. And I want to set it to a maximum of 50 characters. Now, what does this mean? Okay. Well, let's show you an example. Let's go ahead and oops, I don't want that. I want my new content swatch here. Ignore all this coolness that's down here that we'll get to later. Okay. So we're going to look at this new content swatch, and let's go ahead and let's put in some text. Okay. So we got lots of text in there. Okay. So now I got this big paragraph, right? And let's preview this. Oops, browser's over here. All right, so here we go. I have this text box, and if you like having text that stretches across the entire width of a browser window like that is very difficult to read. Okay, and we could set this to be like 50%, right? But like a lot of times, the maximum number of characters you want in a line is around 50 to 60 tops. Okay, so what's kind of cool is with this new settings, with these new units, I can limit the width of this to 50 characters. Okay, so let's just call this max char. Okay, so we're gonna copy that. Oops, and we're gonna go down here, and I'm gonna set the maximum width of this column, okay, to be 50 characters. And if we preview that, there we go. So it's now a maximum width of 50 characters. Okay, which is kind of cool. I like that. So if you were to count all these characters, it's 50. Okay. Here, let's raise that so you can kind of see how it's responsive a little bit. Actually, here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to set it. Probably actually even better would be to set it on the text. That way it kind of, oops. So what we'll do here is, or let's just increase that a little bit. So we'll do like, what in the world am I doing today? My fingers are 100. Okay. So you see, it is still responsive, but then once we start hitting the maximum width of 100 characters, it stops growing, right? So that's a really cool thing, okay? Maximum characters. There's also this thing called characters wide. I don't think so this is for if you're using characters such as like Japanese or Chinese characters. Those characters tend to be wider than a normal character. So there are 2 character units. Most people are going to be using the characters, the CH. If you are writing in Chinese or Japanese or one of those similar languages, you can use this character's wide unit. Okay. So pretty cool stuff there. But also just having units in general for minimum and maximum is going to be very useful. So hopefully you guys enjoy that. Okay. Next thing is, so as you know, there are, hold on, I don't want to mess up my existing swatches here because I want to play with those later. Let's just add in another with swatch. So, there are elements, kind of default elements that I've, built out this huge list. I've added a few things to this. So we have the ability to find all text links. And what that will do is it will find all links within a text stack on the page. Okay, so any link within a text stack will get targeted with this all text links element. Another thing is, let's see, what else was there? Hold on. I think I added a, in menus, you can now target top level menus. Okay. So a lot of times people were doing all menu items, but then what that did is it would actually target even sub menus, right? So a lot of times if you want to target something just on the top level menu, you can now do that with the top level menu items. Okay. So that's nice. Just kind of perusing through here. There's a bunch of new SVG stuff. So you can target SVG circle, SVG polygons, SVG lines, SVG paths. These are going to be useful with that new SVG stack or SVG swatch. Okay. But it could be useful for other swatches as well. So I kind of made them global so you can use them for anything. Okay. So that's nice. Let me look at my list here. Any other elements? I think those are the only elements that I added. So there is a new pseudo state. Okay. So there is a pseudo state for, we had the ability to target before and after. Okay. And I know this is definitely getting on the more advanced side of how things work. But you can also target, hover before and hover after now as well. Okay. So, I'll kind of show you how we can use this, later on today, especially with overlays. Okay. Just to kind of show you, if I add an overlay, while the overlay doesn't necessarily tell you explicitly, the overlay is all achieved with the before element. Okay, so we can kind of see here what's kind of cool about swatches is I tell you the selector that's actually being used right here. Okay, and so while in the overlay I'm targeting my class, what this swatch is actually doing is it's targeting the before element of my class. So if we wanted to target the overlay on hover, okay, we could easily do that, right? And so now what we could do is, if we were to go to element here, we can then target, actually, you know what? Whoops. If we did, class, and then pseudo before hover. I might need to look at that. Interesting. Okay. But anyway, what we could do is actually what you'd have to do is, interesting. See, this is something I actually hadn't played around. This just came into my head right now. So we could target like a background color, and then we could do my class, and then we could do before hover, right? And then you can customize the background color of the overlay element on hover. Okay, so interesting. I'll think of how to do that with the overlay swatch actually natively. That'll might be kind of cool. Okay, but this is one small use case on how you can use these hover before and hover after. Kind of know how, maybe eventually over time you'll learn what these before and after things are. Especially with this new swatch pack, I've used those cool little edge case things more and more. So they're pretty slick little things in CSS land. Okay. Better overlay swatch. So going back to the overlay, I improved the overlay swatch so it works in more cases. I didn't necessarily add any new settings here, but the overlay swatch actually works in more cases now. You can add it to a lot more stuff and it works. Pretty cool. And I'll show you some examples on this page later on because I'm going to actually be animating this overlay swatch. It's pretty slick. Okay. Let's see. Let me see if there's any questions. I've kind of been ignoring the chat a little bit. Just a lot of cool new features. The email stack not yet on F6. Not sure what you mean. Email stacks have nothing to do with Foundation 6. They're completely different product. Fernando. Okay. Let's see. Oh, so here is another thing. Okay, let me show you an example. So here I've loaded, I'm going to turn off. So I've added some stuff for Font Awesome. And a lot of times people, you have icons on the page and you're not sure why they're not showing, right? You're like, well, I loaded Font Awesome 5, but this stack has some icons and it's not working. What's going on, right? And so this has caught a lot of people. So let me show you a little example here. What I'm going to do is here I'm just going to throw my old Font Awesome stack on the page. So here's the Font Awesome stack. My old Font Awesome stack does use Font Awesome 4, right? So this uses Font Awesome 4 icons, okay? So like, for example, this anchor is the Font Awesome 4 anchor, okay? But if you notice on the page, I'm loading Font Awesome 5. So for preview, we'll notice now it has detected that you loaded Font Awesome 5, but we found Font Awesome 4 snippets on the page. Now this only loads in preview. This will never get published. Okay, so this little warning that we're seeing will only work inside preview. Okay, and it kind of gives you some hints on what you can do. Okay, two things you can do. You can either, if you've manually put in these Font Awesome 4 snippets, you can upgrade them to use Font Awesome 5 snippets. Okay, or it's saying you can check this Font Awesome 4 snippet upgrade. Okay, so let's take the example of this Font Awesome 4 upgrade, right? And this is an example that we've had before. We just go into this stack and we check the snippet upgrade. And now if I preview my page, we won't see that error anymore. Okay, so this is just a warning to help you guys when you forget to check this little snippet upgrade button. And you might have Font Awesome 4 icons, okay, on the page. Okay. Now this will solve 90%, maybe even 95% of the icons not displaying issues. Okay. There are other things. There are some stacks that use Font Awesome icons in different unique ways. For example, in some of the toolbars within Total CMS admin, or there are some table stacks out there that use some Font Awesome icons in little headers. Okay, and those use Font Awesome in a different way, and they don't use snippets. Okay, they don't use the little HTML snippets to get those icons on the page. They use different ways. They actually use before and after elements. Okay, so I thought about how can I help people in a better way fix that. Okay, so I added a new setting here into these Font Awesome 5 CSS and fonts. This only works with the CSS and fonts, by the way. Is this FA4 custom upgrade? Okay, chances are you will only use this option like if if you post on the community and you're like, these icons aren't showing, and then I or somebody else gives you a little hack on how to fix that. And essentially what we do is we figure out the CSS selector to where that icon is on the page, and we paste it in here. And you can put multiple. It's just a common delimited list of CSS selectors that this stack will then assign and override the Font Awesome 4 font and use the Font Awesome 5 font. Okay. So before I was giving people like CSS snippets. So this just makes that a little bit easier. There's no blanket way for me to just upgrade everything, right? So I thought this was just the best solution from a support standpoint, where if you still have icons that aren't showing and you have the snippet upgrade turned on, chances are you might need this custom upgrade option. And then I or somebody else, or you, if you're proficient enough, you can figure out what that selector is and put it in there, and it will force that icon to use Font Awesome 5. Okay. So this setting is something that you might never need to use it, hopefully, but it's useful when we do need it. Okay. So cool. So that was that feature right there was kind of a selfish one, just because I get a lot of requests about that. So hopefully that helps you help yourself a little bit better. Okay, which is always a good thing. Next up, Animate stack. So there was some issues with the Animate stack on page load. Okay. Oh, I have it right here. So before, there were options for triggering the animation with this trigger setting. Okay. And there was scroll, hover, and page load. Essentially, when you had it set to page load, like you would see the icon and then it would vanish and then it would come back, right? And so the fix was essentially to use scroll and page load for the same option. Okay, so if you have something on the page that you want to animate on page load, set it to this, and it will just work. Okay, and you won't see that issue of it the icon vanishing and then animating in. Okay, so we've kind of simplified this a little bit. So it's just scroll plus page load, and then we have on hover if you want that. Okay. Cool. Let's see. Other things I did is, let's see, top level swatch transitions on page load. Oh, okay. Oh, I forgot to add that. 1 second. I need to make a note for myself. Okay. So, this is definitely an edge case thing as well, but it's kind of cool. So, let's go to preview. Okay. Let's go. We have to look at the inspector here. So, if we look here on the page, you'll notice that inside the HTML element here, let's zoom in a little bit. Okay, let's turn on my little doohickey here. So here we'll notice that I'm currently on a Mac that doesn't have any touch. Okay, you'll notice that the HTML element, which is like the parent node of this page, gets a class of no touch. Now, if I was on an iPhone or an iPad, guess what class would be added here? It would be called touch. Okay. How is that useful to us? Right? And there's another thing that actually gets added. You'll notice that on this body class, there is a class called loaded. Okay. So here, loaded. So how do these, there's three classes that can kind of help us out here. So we have touch and no touch, again, based on the device. So if your device that you're on supports touch, this will have a class of touch. If we're on a device that doesn't support touch, we'll have no touch. Okay. And then no matter what device you're on, once everything on the page has been loaded, let's refresh this page. Oops, I need to turn off that. Okay. I don't know if you saw this. It's probably hard on a Zoom because it's so fast, right? But while everything is loading on the page, like everything is downloading, the CSS is getting processed, images are getting downloaded, this loaded class doesn't exist. Okay? Only once everything on the page is loaded is this loaded class added to the body. Okay. How are those three classes useful to us? Okay. Well, if you've used any sort of swatches before, which is, I don't know, height swatch. Okay. Or maybe actually one that would actually make sense potentially with one of these, opacity. Okay. Let's say I wanted to make the opacity of something 100% or 50% or something like that once everything is loaded on the page. So we have this parent class right here, okay, right here. So every swatch or most swatches have a parent class option. Now, if I were to add loaded into the parent class, what this would do is this swatch would only get applied once everything was loaded on the page. So let's say, for example, I had two swatches. I have the default of something is opacity 0. Okay. But once everything is loaded on the page, I then make it opacity 1. So here I have the default opacity that has no parent class is set to 0. But once everything is loaded on the page, I can then set that opacity to 1 just by adding the parent class of loaded. There are an infinite amount of use cases for this. Okay, other things. If you wanted to target something on a touch device to be different, okay, well, guess what? You just add touch to the parent class. Or if you wanted to have something special for non-touch devices, you just do no touch in the parent class. So these are three. I will document these inside the tooltip for the parent class setting. That was the little note I made before I started talking about this. So these three classes can be used inside this parent class to help you target things in those three scenarios. When things are loaded on the page, when you're on a touch device, and when you're on a non-touch device. So, useful. Okay. Let me look at my list. I think that's about it for all the features inside 6.7. Let me look at my list again. Transitions on page load. Yep. Okay. So now we're going to start digging into some of the new swatch packs. Okay, some of the new swatches from this swatch pack that's going to come out. Let me see if there's any other questions. But thank you. School, now scroll. Okay, cool. Okay, so on this page, we'll show you some things that I'll just kind of show you a few examples that are on this page. Okay, so first off, we have this aspect ratio. Actually, look here, that's actually it's one of the first, it's the first new swatch here in the list. It's called aspect ratio. Okay, and here it is right here. So here we see in here, my zoom window is really small. I can't make it bigger. Oh well. So I set this to be a class of my aspect, right? We can align our content to the middle, and then I set my ratio. So this particular, whatever I add this to is going to always be a ratio of 16:9. Okay, so if you see here, this particular container, all I did is I made the background black with the utility class right down here, right? I added the my aspect class, and I added an alt class so the colors are white, right? So this particular container will maintain a 16:9 aspect ratio. And then the header, obviously the content will be centered within this container, because inside the swatch, we set my content alignment to be middle. Okay, so let's go back to the preview. We'll see that this particular container is now 16 by 9, right? There we go. It's pretty slick. You see it always scales down. The content is always aligned to the middle. And yeah, if you wanted, there's other use cases for this. If you wanted something, let's say, having that being full width of the screen isn't going to be easy to see. So let's just chuck this into a two column really quick. Add this into here. All right, and what I'm gonna do here, let's preview. Here, we'll do both of them. So we just kind of see two of them. Add some gutters. Okay, so now we have two things here, and they are both scaled to 16 by 9. Okay, so they're always going to be the aspect ratio 16 by 9. Let's see what some other aspect ratios are. Okay, so obviously if you want to square, that aspect ratio will be 1:1 because the width and the height are going to be identical. Okay, let's preview that. So now these are always going to be perfect squares. Pretty cool. Okay, so that's the new aspect ratio. Not much to it. If you want to see what the content alignment, if we do content alignment here, let's do bottom. There we go. The content aligned is aligned at the bottom, right? So pretty cool little way. These could be interesting if instead of a black background you had like a background image. This could give you a nice way of doing square images, okay, or something like that, and then maybe with a caption on the bottom, just by aligning the content to the bottom, something like that, right? So yeah, this is going to be a very useful swatch, aspect ratios. Okay, let's see. Next up on the list, background is overlay. We're going to look at overlay BG in a little bit. Border, clip path. Okay, so clip path. I have a clip path here. This is actually using kind of a more advanced implementation of clip path, where you can actually clip it to an SVG. Okay, so here I have, I set my shape to be a SVG clip path. Now this is definitely, there's special syntaxes here. Here, let's look at this really quick. I don't want to go too far into this, but here we go. You're going to have to make sure you have this something, it's an SVG, set the width and height to 0. This is definitely kind of more an advanced use case of this, right? You're going to have to use this clip path option. Okay, so you need a clip path tag. And then inside that clip path is your SVG path. Okay. And what's important is this clip path tag needs to have an ID. Okay. Again, this is definitely an advanced use, and I'm kind of diving right into the deep end with this. Okay. But this clip path needs to have an ID. And that's important because we need to put that ID here. So this is where you put in your SVG. And this is where you put in the ID that's inside of your SVG with that clip path. Okay. And you can clip whatever you want. In here on this page, I'm clipping my image here. So if we preview this, we'll see I'm taking that SVG is a heart. Okay. And basically I'm clipping my image to that SVG. Okay. Pretty cool. That's an advanced use case. Let me show you what some of the more simple use cases are for clip path. So inside here, I just have a bunch of pre-made shapes. So I have like a circle. Okay. So if I do a circle, there we go. I clipped my image to be a circle. Okay. You can do, there's some other interesting ones, like here's left arrow, right? So there I clipped my picture, my image to be an arrow. Okay. So yeah, this is just a really cool way. Now you can clip anything. I'm using this on pictures, but you can clip whatever you want. For example, I'm going to take this my clip and I don't know, let's throw it on this text. Okay. Here, we'll even keep that one on there. This doesn't, now be honest, this doesn't make sense with text. I'm just doing this to show you. Yeah, you see this text is clipped. It doesn't make any sense for text because it's going to clip the text. Like it makes it not readable, right? So yeah, be careful with that with text. Okay. But anyway, inverted mode, possible or V2. I don't know what inverted mode means. If you want to post more details afterwards, I'd be happy to look into that. Okay, I'm not sure what. Oh, you mean the inversion of that path? Yeah, interesting idea. Not sure that will be possible. Maybe with if you did custom SVGs, you could do that with the inverted. Okay. Not possible right now, and I don't even think that's possible with CSS. Is just to blatantly invert stuff. But it could be possible with an SVG clip. Okay, so yeah, lots of stuff. I think the chevrons are probably be a cool one, right? So you can clip stuff to be a chevron, right? And you can clip just a normal thing. Like I can clip this aspect ratio, right? So that's a pretty cool idea actually. Let's take this my clip. I'm going to take it off this text because obviously I think that's retarded. And then we're going to put it on this aspect ratio, this container right here. So I'm giving it an aspect ratio and then I'm clipping it as well. It should work. I don't see why not. Voila. So yeah, there we go. There I just have kind of like I created these squares. Then I'm clipping them with the clip path. And then this text, obviously it's centered and it's kind of getting cut off a little bit, but that works. That's pretty cool. Cool. There's a lot. Again, these swatches, what's so powerful about these swatches is you can use them anywhere you want, right? Very, very cool. Very powerful. Okay. Here, let's go back to put my heart back in there because we all love Joe Workman. Cool. There we go. So that was clip path. The next one is cursor. And you might be wondering, what the heck is cursor? Okay. So cursor allows you to change the cursor to be whatever you want. Okay. So like, for example, here's a help cursor. So like if you hover over, and again, you can apply this class to whatever, but maybe if you hover over a particular button or a little thing that you want people to click or get, hover over, you can display it. You can change the cursor. So let's change this to be, let's do, the helper class. So anything I add a helper class to is going to get this question mark cursor. So let's just, here, if I hover over my picture, we're going to get the question mark. So we'll just go over here. I'm going to add that. Again, these are probably going to be on things like you add to a button or something like that, but I just want to give you a quick example. When we hover over, you'll see that my cursor is now a question mark. When I unhover, it's normal cursor, hover, question mark, right? So you can kind of customize what that is. Pretty cool, right? There's all the default cursors that are in here, and it took quite a while, but I actually got images of every cursor and then put them here so you can kind of get a preview. Now, obviously, these are what they look like on Mac. Okay, these obviously cursors are dependent on sometimes browsers change them, and also definitely OSs, right? So there's all kinds of cursors here that you can use. Cool, but I think probably the ones that you'll use most are going to be help. I think the question mark is kind of useful, and maybe pointer. Like if you want something like to be clickable that maybe isn't by default, but you added some click event to it, then you can make it hover and look like a link. Okay, pretty cool. So that is the cursor. Next is display. I think I went over this last week, but the display, probably the way this stack will get used the most is the ability to it's basically a custom visibility stack. Okay, so you can set something to be display none. That will hide it. But what's cool is you can also define a custom breakpoint for that. So this gives you the ability to show and hide things now at a custom breakpoint. Okay, there are other display options in here. You've probably seen, I think, inline or inline block could be potentially useful for a lot of things. The other things are definitely edge case scenarios, but I think display none is definitely going to be the biggest use case of this, right? So, I can be like, my hide or something like that. And wherever I add this my hide class, let's set it, let's say between 700 and 900 pixels whatever I add my hide to will get hidden. Okay, let's just add it to here, this entire container stack. There we go. Okay, so between 900 pixels and 700 pixels, it will get hidden. So now we're below 900 pixels, and now we're below 700 pixels. So if you see that, that allowed me to define a custom range on when to hide something. Pretty cool. A lot of people have wanted that. Okay. Let's see. Display. Pseudo content. This has 100% to do with those before and after elements now that we're starting to maybe see a little bit more often. Okay. And I was trying to think actually today, when I was getting ready for my day, think of more useful things for this swatch. It's definitely an edge case thing. Something I wanted to try, I didn't have time to try it before this, let's play around with the button really quick. I'm going to add, let's see. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do, we'll just call this hello. Okay. And I'm going to do content hello space. And so essentially what I want to do is I want to prepend this button with something. I'm going to put hello. So let's do the class here. Hello. Did that work? I think that might. It does. It doesn't work inside edit mode, which is interesting. Okay. But here, if you'll notice, I added hello to my button text. And what's kind of cool is, you can kind of standardize that a little bit. So like, so both of these stacks have the hello class, and I can add hello to both of them with this before class, right? And if I do here, let's change that to before, and hello after is going to be after. There we go. So you can kind of modify stuff, right? How is this useful? You can do this, let's say other things instead of buttons, okay, could be headers. 1 second here. Oops. So let's do something. Let's modify every header. I think that's an H3. Okay. And I'm going to go here. We're just going to put H3. Okay. So I'm going to add before and after to every header. Actually, you know what? For this case, let's just do before. So as I'm building my page, okay, let's say I want to build out all my headers, and every header on my page I want to put in section colon, okay, something like that. Okay, so let's just go ahead and do let's add in some headers. I don't know, we'll do like home. Okay. I'm just going to do something like about. All right. Think of these as something else, right? I don't know. Contact. It's the only thing I can think of off the top of my head. Now, these are all H3s, okay? And let's say what I really wanted to do was I wanted to have section colon home. Maybe this is like for a documentation site or something like that, right? But I don't want to type in section home on everything, right? I just want to type in home about contact. Now, in this H3 before, I can actually prepend something standard to everything. Okay, so here I prepended section colon to all of my H3s. Okay, so yeah, that's pretty much And if I set this to be after, it would put it after the content, right? Obviously, I would need to change it so it's something different, right? But yeah, kind of cool. Definitely an edge case thing, but I think it's definitely an interesting one to have. Okay, so that is the pseudo content stack. Let's see. The SVG stack. I'm not going to play too much with this SVG stack. I showed it last week during the SVG maps. Hopefully you guys watched that. But this allows you just to apply styles to SVGs. It actually hasn't changed at all since I showed it last week. Okay, so yeah, SVG Swatch is pretty slick if you're working with SVGs. Toggler. This Swatch is a game changer. Okay, this is just amazing. It literally is. It is just an amazing stack. I'm going to show you a very simple scenario right now. Probably one that's not too useful. But man, it just hopefully it opens your eyes to what we can do. Okay. I'm going to add a button to the page at the very top up here. Okay. And let's just call it toggle. What the toggler swatch allows us to do is it allows us to add and remove a class to anything by clicking or hovering on something else. In this example, I'm going to click a button, but it doesn't need to be a button. It could be an image. It could be whatever. You can hover over one part of the page and affect the styles of something else on a page. This toggler stack is amazing. Okay, so let's do a little example here. I'm gonna target this class in this toggler stack. This is gonna be the class of something I want to change. So I'm gonna call this changer. Okay, it's the class of something that I want to add another class to. Okay. My trigger, okay, down here, this is the trigger. This is the element that I'm going to click or hover. So by default, it's click. You can also do hover. So I'm going to leave that as toggler. I'm okay with that. This is the class that we actually want to add and remove. Now, for simplicity's sake, I'm just going to add BG black. Okay. So what I can do is I'm going to add and remove the BG black, which is a utility class, whenever I click on a button toggler on something that has a class of changer. Okay? So here we have a button. In order to activate this, I need to add the toggler class to it. Okay? This button is now wired to toggle classes. Now on this container, I want to add the changer class, because this is going to tell toggler change me. Okay, let's preview this. So whenever I click this button, this area right here, now this has black text, right? So probably a bad example for me, but boom, I'm toggling that just to show you that simply by clicking on this button, I'm adding a class to this area, and that area is having its styles changed because I added a class to it. And again, if you keep clicking, it toggles it on and off. Pretty cool, right? Okay, let's go a little further. Let's do a little more advanced setting options here. Okay. So instead of toggling this BG black class, let's toggle the alt class, for example. Okay, still somewhat of a okay. We're going to toggle the alt class. Okay, and so what I can do is I'm going to add background. Okay, and if we add the alt class to something, I want the background color to be dark blue. Okay. Now, if you may know, if you add the alt class to something, by default, it's going to get these alternate text colors over here, down here, right? So those are kind of built in. Okay. So I'm cheating a little bit here. Okay. But we're going to do two things. We're changing the text colors to be whatever the alt colors are here. And then we're actually going to be changing the background color to blue. Okay. And yeah, toggle class. All right, so let's preview that. Boom. Now, that change is very abrupt, right? How can we make that a little smoother? Well, if we go ahead and add a transition swatch, okay, and we transition alt, I'll just leave the speed values to be the same. It's fine. Oh, by the way, in the transition swatch, one thing I forgot to add is that I allow you to custom define some properties. So like if you want to transition only the background, you can do that. Okay. By default, it'll be all. Okay. But you can actually transition everything. Okay. So I added a transition to the alt class now so that when we toggle this, hopefully you've seen that, but it actually fades in, right? So those styles are actually being transitioned. Pretty cool, right? So I saw, Johan, you asked, does Toggler work with transitions? 100% it does, right? And I just wanted to show you in the Toggler, if we use this on hover, okay? So if I hover over this button, it changes, right? Pretty slick. So yes, 100% Toggler works with transitions. Pretty cool. You could build a dark mode switch with this. Matthias, yeah, you probably could build a dark mode switch with this if you wanted to. But then the problem with that is it wouldn't remember, right? So if the person went to a different web page, it would default to be light. There's no way of saving that state. So it is, something that is, only for that particular moment. Okay. So that's Toggler. Pretty cool, right? Let's see. I'm going to save transform for last. Okay. Let's see. Oh, there's a z-index swatch now, which allows you to set just the z-index of something. A lot of times people were using the position swatch to apply a z-index, and that was just causing some issues because the position swatch does more than that, right? So this is just a way of applying just a z-index to something. And yeah, so simple way of just applying a z-index to something. Okay. Cool. Is there something up here? No, there wasn't anything new inside fonts. Okay, I guess we will go into some pretty slick examples now. Okay. And that's scrolling further down on this page. Okay. Hold on one second. I just want to get rid of this. This is kind of bugging me because those styles are kind of ugly. I don't need that. I actually don't need this anymore. Okay. Keep that. Okay. So we have a couple examples here. First one, something like this. Voila. Look at that. That's pretty cool. This isn't a effect that allows you just to do this. This is just something I came up with using swatches. I came up with this on my own. Right? This uses a combination of overlays and something called transforms. Again, this is just an example of something you could do. Right? I know a lot of times people see this and they're like, oh, I can do that, right? But there's your imagination is your only limitation right now with a lot of these new swatches. I mean, I saw this and was like, oh, I think I could do that with swatches, and bam, did I do it, and it's freaking cool, right? Also, we can also later on, actually here, I'm going to drag this to the top of the page. So it's at the very top. Let's just put it right there. And I'm going to delete this one because we don't need that. I'll delete that one because we don't need that. Okay. So we're always at the top. Okay, cool. All right, actually, you know what I can do? I'm going to hide that. Okay. Pretty cool, right? Let's look at how we did this. So it's a little involved. Okay, I won't lie, right? But it's not like a huge amount of swatches. Actually, you know what? Before I dive into this one, I'm going to show you a simpler effect at the very bottom of this page. And this is with this button. Look at the hover effect I added to this button. Pretty slick, right? Here, I'm going to, so I don't have to keep scrolling down, I'm going to copy this button and we're going to paste it up here. Okay. Check out that button. I mean, that is just cool, right? So, how did we do this? Well, this uses some of the new cool little additions I added to the overlay swatch, actually. Okay. So, let's show this. This was accomplished with these 4 swatches. Okay. So, basically, I created a class called myOverlay with an overlay swatch that just sets the background to be a dark blue. Okay. And I'm going to turn off these transform swatches really quick. Okay, there we go. Let's preview that. So what that does is that just adds an overlay to my button. Okay, hopefully you can see that overlay. It basically turns my button into a particular color. Okay. Then I use something called a transform swatch. Okay. Now this is just one use case of a transform. I mean, transform swatch can do so much. Here I'm going to transform the overlay. Okay. And essentially what I'm doing is I'm going to use the scale. Transforms, I guess I should back up and explain a transform swatch, what it does. Okay. Transform swatch allows you to move something, scale something, rotate something, or skew it. Okay. In this particular example, I am scaling it from 0 all the way to 100. Okay. On the x-axis. Okay. So here on, this is actually an example of where I'm using hover before. Okay. And I'm also using the before pseudo element here. So in the transform swatch, I'm transforming my overlay by targeting the class with the before element. And I know it's the before element because my overlay BG kind of shows me that. The overlay swatch uses before. So I'm targeting my overlay. And I'm scaling the X from 0. If you notice, scale is set to 0, 1, 1. On hover, I'm going to 1, 1, 1. Okay. So let me show you an example of what scaling on the X-axis will do. So right now you don't see it because this particular thing is set to 0. I'm going to set this to 0.5 just to kind of show you what it does. There we go. You'll see that it's back here. Okay, so we scaled it to 50%. From 0 to 50%. Okay. So now let's turn off this transition. Oh, I already did. Okay. So now we're going from 0 to 1 on hover. But I disabled the transition, so it should just be, oops, did I? Oh, I turned on I need that. Change the class. So that's just kind of changing the button color on a hover, which I guess is something you could do as well if you wanted to do that. Okay. But to get that really cool effect, what we're going to do is we're going to transition. So let me delete that class so the class name matches. We're changing the pseudo state to before because I'm modifying that overlay. And I'm doing a transform. I'm only transitioning the transform. I'm setting that to be half a second, and you can change the easing effect. Okay. Now this is actually something called a transform multi swatch, and this is a new one. And we'll see this in a little bit in an example later on. But here you can actually add multiple transitions. So you could do something like, animate the background color at 300 milliseconds, and then animate the opacity or something like that. Delay that by 200 milliseconds. So here you can really build out some really cool, more advanced transitions and animations with this new transition multi swatch. And this new transition multi swatch comes in the swatch pack. Okay, so here we're just using one though. We're gonna do the transform at 500 milliseconds, and we get something cool like this. Now, if you might be wondering, how is it going in one way, and when I unhover, it's going out the same direction, right? Instead of reversing it. Okay. And if you had looked in this transform swatch, man, I'm going into really technical I have to admit, this is a rather technical I will create a template out of this, but this is a kind of a little master class on transforms. A simple example, but still a master class. In transforms, we also have an origin. Okay. Man, I'm going to have to do probably an entire live stream on transforms. Okay. Here, on the hover, we're changing the origin from 0, 100, which is essentially the left, to 100, 100, which is the right. Okay. Now, if I were to let's change this origin here to 100. Okay. We can get a different effect. So very different effect, right? Than changing it here. Right? So you can change all kinds of just by tweaking some of these values. Now it's important that in this transition swatch here, the default is going to be all. I'm going to change that to this. We'll see how funky this actually gets. The reason is it's trying to transition not just the transform, but also the transform origin at the same time. But we want to target that animation just on the transition, or I'm sorry, just on the transform. And that's how we can, get that smoother, really nice animation by just transitioning just what we want, not everything that's changed on the button. Okay. Man, I thought this was really simple until I started talking about it and trying to teach you guys on all the ins and outs of how things are working, right? But yeah, pretty cool though, right? And that was just done on a button with 4 swatches. This hover, this banner. Now let's look at the banner now. Collapse that. Here, we'll do the hover effect. Okay. This one's interesting because this does something. If you notice, the animations are triggered when I hover anywhere over this banner image. Okay, not just over the header themselves. So that's something that's kind of interesting as well. So I'm triggering the animation of an element by hovering over just the banner. Is blurring part of the transition multi-swatch? So blurring is available as a part of my filter stack. And so you can do blur transitions with my filter pro stack. And that actually comes with a swatch called filter. There's filter backdrop and filter pro, and both come with my filter stack. So check that out. And that actually comes with swatches as well. Okay. Man. Okay, banner. I have to admit this does take quite a bit of styles. Okay. Just because these styles are for this entire banner. Okay. So I have a background image for this banner. It's just the banner class. So I think I added it to this container. This container has banner. Okay. And that just gives it the background image and the background color and with a little blend mode. So here I added actually a black and white image. I gave it a background color of blue. And then further down, I blended those by doing multiply. Just so you can kind of see, if I turn the blend mode off, it's just a black and white image background. But I by applying a background color and then blending those two with the blend mode, I get this cool black and white blended image. Okay. You could do more cool effects like this with that filter stack, actually. You could do like duotone and some really cool background filter effects with that. Okay. Okay. Next up is so that dealt with the banner. Man. Then I have to do so here's the overlay that's on the header. So this is the H1. Okay, this is an H1. This is an H3, I think. Let's look. H3. Okay. So if you notice here, I'm targeting the H1 and I'm applying a overlay to it. Then similar to what we did with the button, I have a transition and transforms applied to that overlay that's on that banner. Okay. I'm going to go through this example really quick. If we really need to, I'll do an entire live stream on this later on. Okay. This will also be a template. Okay. Then I do my font color for my H3. I set that to be blue. And then I add a white overlay to that. And similar to the button, I'm going to transform that and have transitions to it. But not only that, I also do an opacity. Because if you notice, here, I'm going to delete this opacity swatch really quick and preview. Okay. If you notice on page load, if I don't change the opacity, that actually is visible. And that's not what we want. We only want it to be visible when I hover over the banner. Okay. So the way I can do that is by adding an opacity swatch, by targeting the H3 that's inside of a banner. And then essentially on hover, I'm changing that to be an opacity of 1. Now you might be noticing on a lot of these, I'm actually using the custom CSS selector. Okay. And I'm doing something kind of different. Here I'm doing dot banner, which should be kind of similar to you guys, right? That's the class of banner. I'm doing dot banner : hover H3. So what this does is this type of selector, okay, applies styles to H3 when I hover over any part of the banner. Okay. So again, when I hover over any part of the banner, I'm going to apply this style to the H3. And let's refresh that because I added that opacity swatch back in. So by default, the H3 inside banner is opacity of 0. It's invisible. When I hover over the banner, it's an opacity of 1. Now, if we look at this transition swatch here, I'm then transitioning that opacity. I'm delaying it by 300 milliseconds because I want it to only become, I want it to animate in after this orange one is animated. So I'm adding some delays to these things, right? Again, I can probably do a live stream just on this. I don't want to eat up all your time because I've already gone over our allotted amount of time today. But yeah, this is pretty cool. Now, what I wanted to show you is, I'm going to collapse this. I did another implementation of this animating on page load. Okay. And I did that just by, I'm going to change this. I think it's the loaded class. Load. Okay. So I'm going to hide this hover one and we're going to show you this. I'm going to delete hover and call this load. Okay. So now I've changed this style so that none of this happens on when we hover over. It'll happen on page load. So whenever the page loads, that's what happens. And you know how this is done? You know, earlier I told you we add that loaded class, right? So what I did is in all these swatches, these values change only when the loaded class is a parent. So when Foundation loads everything, it adds that loaded class. Once that loaded class is done, then these transitions are triggered. Right? So pretty cool. This allows us to, have this example in two different ways. We can either hover or we can do it based on content being loaded and trigger this animation on page load. Really, 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 really cool. Like that's just really cool. I kind of dived into the deep end with transforms. I want to show you a little simpler example. Okay. I probably should have done that, to be honest with you, earlier. We're going to do a transform. Let's just do something simple like a rotate. Okay. And so let's just rotate by like, 45 degrees. Okay. And you can actually do 3D transforms as well. Oops. Yeah, I know I put a dash in there. Okay. If you want just a simple angle rotation, like rotating something on the page, let's just do, we'll call this my 45. Okay. So like if I put this on the picture stack, let's just go ahead and down here. Oops. What happened there? I wonder if the clip conflicts with the transform. Oh, interesting. Clipper and transforms don't like each other. But that just kind of gives you an example of here, let's put that back. Interesting. That's a browser thing. I don't think there's really anything I can do about that, but kind of interesting just to kind of show you how you can rotate things, right? So, that just rotates it by 45 degrees, right? You can do some crazy stuff, right? So here we'll do like a little 3D transform here. We're actually kind of rotating it kind of on an X axis and a Y axis, kind of like a three-dimensional thing. It would probably be more apparent, like if we had a little drop shadow on there or something like that, you can kind of see it kind of lifting off the page. Pretty cool stuff. You can also do move, right? So here's a way. Here, let's just do this. We'll call this hover. No, how about lift? Okay. So I'm going to do the default trans. So right now I'm going to transition between two lift states. Okay. So we're gonna have the default state just be all zeros. Okay. And after this, we're gonna lift it up. We're gonna do 20 pixels. Okay. So we're lifting it up. Okay. And we're gonna add a transition to that. And let's be nice. We just want to modify the transform. Let's do 500 milliseconds, delay 0, ease is fine. Oh, I need to add a class. So we're going to add to this picture stack. We're going to add, wonder if we can do my clip and lift. Wonder if it was just an issue with rotate. Be interested to see that. Oh, nope, it's not. Interesting. Clipping and transforms do not like each other. Okay. So if I gotta do, this one has to be on hover. So on hover, I wanna go up 20 pixels. And why didn't that transform? Oh, I forgot to put lift on my transition class. Boop. There we go. So it's kind of a way of doing, maybe that's a little, if you wanted a more subtle effect on the page, you probably do less than 20 pixels, right? And did like -5 pixels, something like that. Right? Kind of cool. You see it kind of just shifts up and down on hover. So ways of just kind of creating interesting little animations, subtle things like lifting or moving. Scaling does a little bit of zoom. So if we wanted to scale this up, we could just do scale on hover 1.5. Oh, and then down here, we want to scale is 1. So now we're going to change the scale. We're going to go up and zoom a little bit. That was Z you wanted to scale. 1.1. There it goes. Pretty cool. Okay. Man. I think that does it, right? Oh, I forgot. The new underscore swatch. Oh, man. This one's cool, too. This one's pretty simple, though. Okay. So, I have 2 underscore implementations here. This is, so here I'm applying to all top level menus, an underscore. And then here I have some text that we're going to look at. So here on the menu, you'll notice when I hover over, we have these animated underscores. Okay, I know people have wanted this for a long, long time. And there's different animation options. If you hover, and then we have another one. If you hover over these text links, we can then get, these little animated lines on every text link. Okay, pretty slick. And it's really simple. So here, if we look at this menu underscore one, you can customize the color, or you just use the text color. You have the height, width options, a little bit of margins, because my menu items have a little bit of padding. So I want to add, if we look at these menu items, I don't want, if we make this 0 really quick. By default, the underscore is going to go the entire width of the menu item, but I only wanted it to be the width of the actual text. So what I do is add a little bit of margin that's equal to the same padding that's on that menu item. And that makes these underscores the exact width of the actual text of the menu item. Okay. You can then do an offset, which would bring it up or down. You can align it left or right. So by default, I think it's center. If we did this align left, you'll see that we get a much different animation. You can do hover states left as well. Okay. You can also do, if we start on the right and go on the left, you can get that cool kind of snaking animation like we had earlier. So it kind of comes in and out the other side, right? Pretty cool. So just by changing these align options. But I kind of like this center one, and it kind of gets you that growing underscore underneath the menu item. And if you notice these ones, it might be subtle in this live stream, but that's a gradient background, right? So if we look at this example here, I actually did some CSS. I have a custom gradient background for that underline, and then, the similar animation options that we had for the last example. And I applied that to here. I used the all text links element, and it applies it to all links within a text stack. Pretty slick. Okay. Man, we're getting down to the end here. My throat's getting hoarse. Gutters. This stack allows you to inside components. There's 2 new swatches. There's gutters, and gutters allows you to obviously customize the gutter for a particular column. So like if I did my gutter and I put this class on a column stack, these gutters are going to be used for that column stack, and it will override whatever you have set inside site styles. Okay, so that's useful. The last one is equalizer. Oh, good. I still have the example here. Okay. So the equalizer allows us to equalize things, okay, easily. So here, it does rely on two classes. First, we need to have like a parent that contains all of the equalized objects. There's a few options. You can only equalize things when they are on the same row. You can equalize them even if they're stacked. And then you can equalize, on a particular, that should be large, not 3. So small, medium, or large. And then this class here is the class you need to add on the thing that you want to be equalized. Okay. So let's look at this example down here, these cards. So here on the 3 column, I have a class called equalizer, and I think that's the default. Oh, I need to do equalizer. Equalizer. And then what I'm equalizing is this card section stacks. Okay. So on these card sections, I'm equalizing with equalize class. And there we go. It equalizes the sections within that 3 column. So cool. Equalizer is going to be really cool. It's super useful. I think cards is a great use case for it, but you can use it in all kinds of other places as well. So pretty slick. Well, guys, I'm officially pooped, right? Yeah, that hopefully you like these updates. I think they're super powerful. And the thing is, I'm not even done. I have a bunch of more ideas, but like I said, I wanted to get these into your hands today. So I'm probably going to get some lunch, and then I will ship Foundation 6.7 and then get that post on the community by the end of the day with the ability for you guys to pre-purchase this new Swatch pack. Hopefully you see the power in them, and you get a lot of great use out of them. And I'm sure as we, over time, I'll be doing more, I could do more specific things like that banner one with the animation. I kind of glossed over that because, I felt I was probably exploding some brains a little bit, but I think having a more detailed explanation of everything that's going on there is going to be cool. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that. Wait for today. By the end of today, you'll have all this amazing stuff, and I can't wait to see what you build with it. So also come join us on Friday at the Hangouts. Can't wait to see you guys there. We can chit chat about a lot of this stuff and even more. So take care, guys. Have a wonderful rest of your week. And if I don't see you, Merry Christmas. Take care. Bye.